It's a joy to have you today, Amrita. This guest of ours today, the minute I look at her face or to look at her work, everything brings so much joy. It's a special one because I think somebody who can just smile and bring in smiles is always such a feeling of, what should I say, completing the second act. I feel it because what else is second act is just bringing in a better version of you to create more positivity and smiles and love and affection and spreading of joy. So today's guest, Amrita, you are a beautiful soul who's doing great photography and a lot of films for the younger ones. I see your work and I smile and I say, how does she handle everything so seamlessly? How kids are so beautifully placed in your arms. The props that you're using, the background that you do, the smile that it brings. So welcome, Amrita Samant. I want to know all about it. So welcome to the Second Act Podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Archana. Yes, you're right. I think, you've sort of captured my life in those few lines. It has been an absolute joy on this journey with Mommy Shots as a child photographer. I think if you trace back about 15, 20 years, there was no such profession that existed. So it was all so new to me as well. And I think I've been finding myself through the process. I do believe you should not go by everything you see online. There is a lot of, a bit of a tussle that happens in shoots because kids are kids and they have a mind of their own. But it's about really adapting to what they want and really having them enjoy the experience we offer. And that's how, these photographs are taken.
Oh, beautiful. So tell me about you. Of course, you did not study this, right? I mean, because of course, there's no professional course in studying child photography. I'm not sure if there is now, but definitely not in the yesteryears. So how did you actually stumble on it? Or did you one fine day got up and just said, oh my God, kids are beautiful, let me just shoot them? How did this happen?
It's a familiar story to you for sure, but also a very exciting one for me because it's, a decision I've never regretted ever since I began this. At the early age of about 5, one of my school teachers sort of put me up on stage in these cute red paper skirts and we performed. That was my first introduction to being on stage. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It wasn't so much the spotlight as it was, the expression or the medium of expression that it was, which is to be able to dance. And it's something that, I got addicted to, and I seized every opportunity that came my way through school and college to perform, be it acting or dancing. Singing wasn't my forte. I think I'm better now, but back then I was just the best bathroom singer around. But that was my, if I have to look back at school and college, my biggest memories are being on stage and being able to perform. Now, when it came to, this crossroads in life where you have to decide what you want to do, I wanted to become an actor, and my family is a little conservative, very conservative. Let me put it that way. And they were not completely okay with the media world at that point in time. Professional dancing was my second option, which was also not the best foundation back in our day, at least in my times. And you had to go abroad to do it. So for me, the next best thing to do was to look at what my sisters were doing. I have two older siblings, and I sort of followed in their footsteps. I studied engineering and computers, and 3 years of doing that, I realized that coding is not for me. It requires sitting in one space. It doesn't allow me to really express myself, and I switched into management. Someone told me that, hey, maybe you'll be great with people because you seem like a people person, and they said HR could be a good place for you. And I went ahead, started working. Then I did a double master's in human resources. I quite enjoyed that line of work. However, I soon came to realize that no matter what profession you are in, whatever it is, you have to be a people person. So it's not really an HR skill alone. However, 7 years of working in a corporate world, there was this huge rift in my personality, in the sense that I would go to work from 9 to 6 and be the best employee that a company could have. But from 7 to 10, I would protect that time like it was my child. And I would go out there. You'd find me in rehearsal spaces. You'd be finding me writing for magazines as a creative outlet. I'd be dancing, doing theater. I even took up kayaking, wedding choreography. I tried my hand at 10 different things. The 10th thing that I tried was photography. And it was a really good friend of mine who was a wedding photographer back in the day. I assisted him on a couple of shoots, and I fell in love with the medium.
Wow.
For me, I think it was the search to find a creative, sustainable career while I had my full-time job going on. So these side hustles really helped me, find my path, because I was never at rest. And my mentor back in the day told me, you can't really keep chasing two rabbits. You've got to go with one. And,
And
so yes, I think 28, I think I made the decision. I'm like, I was anyway looking to move from one company to the other. And I said, okay, let me give myself 6 months. Let me give photography a shot. I set my safety net and I told my colleagues, my mentors, I'm like, if things fail, I'm going to come back here. And I went on, and thankfully I never had to look back.
Wow.
So that's how I got here. And that's how Mommy Shots began.
Yeah, but like honestly, so this is unique because a lot of us don't take these chances. A lot of us just feel, okay, 9 to 6, I'm tired now. I want to probably be on Netflix, and especially I see with the youth now that they work at their own terms, and then they need their free time. They're hardly exploring anything. So what made you explore? Is it just your personality? Is it the support system? Is it some other peer, like around you, your friends circle, or something that made you do this and really try out new things rather than just resting at home? So do you have anything to tell the younger ones these days? What can they do? Because I just see them, falling in patterns.
I think it was just the unrest in my mind to do something creative at all times, to be able to express using any medium, right? Be it art, be it writing, or performing on stage. For me, that need to create even seeped into my full-time corporate job. I'd always pick up the creative projects that were on the table. And, I started to realize that if I don't create, that's when I'm really sad. And I feel like someone's taken away a large part of me. So that need to create was so strong that it pushed me to do what I do. And I've always been this person who's always, juggling a bunch of things, not just focused on one task, but I'm trying to do multiple tasks at the same time. I've always been that person. And I think that sort of just seeped through into my character while I was growing through my 20s and pushed me to keep exploring things. Some were done out of curiosity, some were done to fight a fear, and most of them were done merely to satiate that creative appetite I had. So that's how I got it. But if I have to give a message to the younger ones, I think what I would say is that I think it's a lot easier in their world. The options for side hustles, the gig economy offers them so much to do. It's about how much they take into their lives and really explore themselves and find their true passion to do what they want to for the rest of their lives. One thing I've learned is that this space that I'm in right now, I feel completely privileged to be able to wake up and do what I love and also make a living out of it. And that's not a space that anyone can get to very easily, right? Where you absolutely adore, that you wake up with a smile and you're heading to work with like so much energy, that positive energy that you take in there. That space requires a little bit of hard work. And to explore and find that space, you've got to try a bunch of things to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So did you actually do anything professional as far as photography is concerned?
When you say professional,
like
you
studying
mean
in some kind of a school which gave you
academically?
Yes.
All right, yes. So that's interesting. I really wished I had, because I struggled through with math and science and a whole bunch of subjects that just don't add any value in my life today. But however, as soon as I started the journey of photography, the way I started was learning on the job. Assisting a wedding photographer meant that you had to perform, you had to secure pictures, because a wedding can't be repeated. You can't redo a shot. So there was a lot of pressure on me to understand how my camera works. So you had to be one with your camera, your equipment. And that 6 months of experience that I gained there really helped me get started. But then, of course, as we know, photography is an ocean by itself. And you can spend another 15 years in it and you still won't be the best photographer out there. So for me, it was really important to start honing my skills. And what followed after quitting my cushy corporate job and taking this huge risk was an immense amount of hard work, because I would shoot during the day, go back home and edit at night, and then spend about an hour or two learning something new, learning how I could do things differently, because you can never get complacent with an art form like this. the moment you get complacent, you're forgotten. So to stay ahead of the curve, to be at the top of my game, to make sure, I'm really good at what I do. And that's an inner need for me. I have to be the best at what I do, at least in my lens. And that just meant a lot of extra hours through the night, which I didn't really expect, because at 6 p.m. the first couple of months I would switch off. I'm like, okay, I can chill now, but no, I can't actually, because this is a whole new world I need to absorb and really perform my best every day. So that really helped change the game for me. So, and of course, yes, academically, I think I did a whole bunch of workshops online because child photography was a very new concept when I started. So nobody in India was teaching it, but I would pick up from photographers all around, watch a number of YouTube videos late at night, and of course, attend workshops of all other genres, which also contributed to my genre in some way.
So nice. But tell me that photography, of course, is a lot of expression. And I think you're being on stage, you're able to also express in a certain way, must have really helped you also to now get the little ones, out there to just express. You think expression is something that, again, is it innate or one can learn, or how did that begin for you?
That's definitely up for debate. I do believe that some of us have it in our genes. I've seen it. I've worked with a lot of actors, and talent just sort of, is running through their veins. It's amazing. But I also want to believe that it can be learned. It's, it's a skill at the end of the day. And with a lot of hard work, it definitely can be learned. And I think just to answer one part of your question, which is helping the younger ones also perform, I think my experience of being on stage actually helps me get parents to perform, because children can just be themselves, right? But getting parents who are non-actors and are in front of a camera and want to do something glamorous or want to do something for their children's memories in the future, getting them to perform is the hard part. And I think getting them comfortable is where all of that experience comes into play. Breaking the ice with them, making them feel amazing about themselves because they are amazing, and really enjoying the session. I think that's where all that past experience comes into play.
Actually, when I see your pregnancy photography, I actually feel, why did you not happen to me when I was expecting? And this is now, of course, my son's going to be 25, so it's long gone. But at the same time, I think the way you capture beauty at that time, the body shape and everything, which we literally were hiding, you are just making it feel so beautiful, and these women are looking so incredible. It's really, I think, one, of course, that I think we have opened our minds, to also accepting our bodies in a certain way. But it is also people like you, I think, who are making it very normal and very natural part of the process. So kudos to that. And I wish more and more women see what you're doing and how beautiful you make them feel as well. So did this part of, like, one is, of course, doing the child photography, but also to capture pregnancy and different stages of pregnancy and making these women look so incredibly hot. How did that happen?
It didn't start easy. 2013 is when I started focusing on this genre, and I started officially in 2014. No one signed up for a maternity shoot, no matter how much I begged.
Really?
No one. It was such a strong taboo. Now, I grew up in Madras, and I do believe they were a little more conservative. And while I completely respect that, it was also my job to educate them about how this phase is short-lived. You're not pregnant forever. It's just 9 months, and it's the last 3 months where you have a bump that shows, and it's a beautiful memory to capture for posterity. Thankfully, the references I had in hand were mostly pregnancy shoots done in the West, and that helped me serve as a visual reference to tell them, hey, this is what we can try to do, and you can keep it personal. It's fine, but don't miss out on the phase. Now, I do believe that shooting this genre also means that the photographer at hand has to understand love, has to understand the importance of a moment in your life, a milestone, the journey, right? And should be loved, should have their heart broken, should have gone through those feelings and emotions to be able to capture what we capture right now.
Mm.
8 years ago, I would not have thought this way, but today, when I look back, I think that's what really carried me forward. The fact that I love, I have been loved. My family adores me. I adore them. The importance of families, the importance of the bonds that exist plays out in all of these photo shoots. So going back 2014, literally no one signed up. I finally found a friend, also an artist and actor, and I convinced her to do the shoot with me, and she was more than open. So that became my first part of my portfolio to show people what we could do.
Wow.
And then slowly word, spread and things picked up. Thankfully, social media helped create that surge of or demand for maternity shoots. But it took a while. It took a good 2 to 3 years before it became a regular thing. And now it's, I don't think anyone goes through their pregnancy without getting a shoot done, which is amazing. But I think what also, I mean, the other part of your question was about embracing our bodies and, really loving and accepting who we are and how our bodies change. That has played a key role in, maternity shoots have played a key role in helping more women embrace it. I do believe that, the work that we put up online has helped change that perspective. And today I'm at a space where I have clients come to me saying, hey, you know what, I've gained a lot of weight, but I really don't give a shit. I just want to get a shoot done, and I'm going to do something in a beautiful swimming costume by the pool. Let's do that, because that's who I am. I would launch by the pool otherwise, but I don't want that to limit. I don't want my pregnancy to limit me. So, this was amazing for me, because starting from where nobody was willing to even bear the bump to a point where people are coming and saying, I want to embrace it. I want to remember this. I want to remember how my body was at this point in time, and don't Photoshop anything. I really want the real deal. I think we made huge strides in that sense, but I also think it's a bigger message that's spread to all the other moms out there who are seeing these pictures and realizing that there's nothing to hide here. This is who we are, and this is what happens to our bodies, and it's the most beautiful miracle we're creating.
So my question, which is coming from here, is that I'm sure that along the process, while you shoot with the children and you shoot with the adult moms, there is something that life's bringing for you as well. And I want you to share what comes up when you shoot these little, these bundle of sweetness and innocence and joy, and then switch over to the adult mindhood of, maybe not still opening up our boundaries, still holding on to things. What's coming out for you?
Every shoot till date has been such a different experience, because no two children are the same. And I think that has taught me a lot to begin with. But I won't hide and tell you that, oh my God, the ovary tugs are crazy, because I'm seeing different babies every day at different stages of their life, massive ovary tugs. Now, the switch of mindsets that happen very gradually, because I think, what's important for me when I'm working with a family, yes, it's a business. Yes, I do this as a profession. Yes, it's my livelihood. All of that is part of the deal. But the bigger part of the deal that I want every family to walk away with is not just the photos, but also the memory and the experience they had with me there. Having, or rather ensuring that they enjoy that experience, which means that I tell parents, switch off your phones, keep it aside. Don't look at them. I want you to just focus on enjoying this 1 hour uninterrupted with your children. Mm-hmm. And really making them savor the moment. And, I switch between posing the parents to playing with the children. There's never posing children. It's always playing with the children. I switch between that pretty seamlessly, because now the parents understand where I'm coming from, because I've set the tone of the shoot, and then they're working with me to get to the end result, right? At the end of the day, everybody coming here also wants beautiful pictures, and I give it my all at every shoot. So when they sense that energy, they sense your involvement and your investment in making sure that those pictures come out well, they're kind of part of the whole team here. It's teamwork. What I do take away, selfishly, is that every child coming into the studio, or when I go to their house, or when we meet outdoors, there's a positive aura around newborns and babies, right? And I draw from it, and I give back into the shoot with that, because the energy is like shared across that room. But I can't even, I don't know how to express. I don't think I have the words in my vocabulary to express what it's like when a newborn's in the space you're in. Yeah. There's a calm in that space, not because we have to keep silent for the child, but because of the energy and the vibes that come from it. So I take away that very selfishly, and I take away the happiness of seeing people in love together. So, I mean, if people ask me, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I really document love, because that's really what I do. And they wouldn't be there if there was no love. They're only there because they want to document that bond. And for me, it's to bring out the best of that bond, the most intimate kind, the kinds that's usually done behind closed doors, where they're hugging, they're kissing, they're cuddling, they're all together. And it's those secret kisses that moms unintentionally give their children when they're just beside them. Subconsciously they're always kissing the kids' heads, or just like patting them, or there's a touch, and that comes very naturally, right? That's essentially why we called it mommy shots. It's those hidden moments, those hidden bits of their life that I want to capture. So yes, that's really my takeaway.
I think it's whatever you're saying is something that I can already feel, while you're expressing through your photography. I can see what's going on behind the scene. It's seamless, and it seems very beautiful and so natural. So, the mothers, of course, have changed over time since you probably have started to shoot. Like you said, that people were also very, not even a decade ago, to come out like that. And now, blatantly saying, listen, shoot me, I want to be there. But also that you have seen how their motherhood is changing. What's changing? What is something that you can see behind the camera?
Oh, wow. Instagram today is filled with lots of mom influencers sharing their lives online, or forget mom influencers. Everyone is sharing parts of their lives online. Yeah. And that is literally the tip of the iceberg, because I think you as a mom yourself that motherhood isn't easy, and there's so many layers to it. The challenges behind it that not too many speak about candidly. Yeah. And I get to see all of that behind the lens. I get to see the real hardship behind what it takes to make that one amazing picture, to get your kid into that mind space, to allow you to take a selfie with them. Yeah. Right? The fight to get there. That is hard. So these layers that I see behind the lens is what actually led me to create that series. It's called Bringing Up My Kids, and I've only done a pilot episode, but we're looking to do a whole series around it in 2023, where we're interviewing moms and asking them to candidly share the actual difficulties of raising a child. What kind of a toll it takes on you as a person. You forget yourself in the process. And it's not just limited to moms, it's even dads, right? How you spend, because I do believe today dads play a much more active role than back in the day, because it was a different system altogether back then. How much time they take out for their kids, how difficult it is to juggle between something that's really important at work, but at the same time your kids dragging you into their playroom to show you something. It's all those moments that we're talking about, the sleepless nights, challenges with lactation, around everything. So I've seen it all in that sense. I feel like I've seen it all because I've worked with over 5,000 families, and no shoot has been easy or just like a breeze, right? It's always been a bit of a tussle, which nobody gets to see. They only get to see the picture perfect stuff that goes up on Instagram. But it's helped me derive a different kind of respect for women who have children. And I'm not a mom myself, which is why that respect is immense. And I've seen my sister go through it as well. So I know what it takes to actually be a mom. Like, even on your worst day, you have to be kind, be patient, be caring, be all of that for your child. And you want to be there. It's not like it's a choice. You want to be it. So knowing that moms want to give the best of this world to their children in any way or any situation possible has helped me look at parenting in a very different perspective today.
So Amrita, thanks for sharing that. And, I'm very curious to know, are there moments when you actually give up and say, today I'm not going to do this because it's just not happening? Or, how do I just get this moment of shot because maybe, the kids are not in the right mood, or you just couldn't. So how do you handle that?
So we've sort of understood the process on how to work with children, in the sense that, we have like a lot of prep that we do before the shoot, and we prepare parents as well. The ideal way to get the best out of a child is to make sure that they actually have taken a good nap, they're well fed, and that's when we begin, right? But there are these odd days with a 99% hit rate. There are these odd days where kids may be going through teething pains or growing pains, or there's a growth spurt that, sort of just changes their mood for that particular day when the shoot is scheduled, that we have tried to push through as much as we can, but without inconveniencing or hassling the child too much. And those days, I'm attached to children. I love children, and I don't like to see them cry through a shoot, because that's not what we do. We want to make them really happy and have them, have loads of fun, because that's when I really get those beautiful reactions you see online. So there are certain days where I have given up, and I'm just like, you know what, maybe we're pushing too much. Today is an off day for the child, and that's acceptable. So let's do this on another day. The number of times it happens is like, I can count them on my fingers, but it has happened. And it also is attached to how you are in your mind space, right? Because there's, like, I've done a whole lesson around what to say to yourself before you enter a shoot, how to prepare your mind for it, to give it your best. So there's like a checklist of things that I used to look at. I used to read it on my phone app and then go into a shoot. Now I obviously know it in my head, so it's easier, but it's things I tell myself that help me seize that shoot as my possibly last shoot, right? Wow. Things that I prepare to give it my best and to make sure I don't get lazy or complacent in that moment. So I feel like in any artist journey, I think it's really important to stay humble, to stay completely rooted.
Right.
And that allows you to create art at a different paradigm as you go along in your journey. So these things that I tell myself really help me. And I secretly, between you and me, I say a prayer for every child. I'm like, please God, let the child be in its, like, have its best day today. So they come in with that energy. I come in with my energy. It's really about just, fusing all of this together and making sure the shoot goes well. So yeah, that's pretty much, it's a bet you take every day.
And how does it happen with the newborns? Because I know my children, especially my son, with little pin drop also, he would just wake up. So it's not about like, you're setting the mood and everything's going right. And these newborns just like, can just get up and start howling at any moment, or like, how do you manage the newborns? That's even, I think, more difficult, no?
Secret recipe there is really patience. If you don't have patience, newborn photography is just not for that person, right? That's the first thing I would tell anyone who wants to get into this space. But with newborns, it's actually fairly easy. The idea is to shoot or document newborns in the first 15 days of their life. That's when they're sleeping the most. And again, there's prep work there where we tell parents to, give them a warm water bath or massage if they do, a full feed, and then we begin. So 2 hours, they're snoozing like pandas, like tiny little pandas. The 2 hours that they're snoozing is when we try to do everything with them. And, you're on a threshold. So that's the thing with child photography. They all have a threshold, and you have to work within that threshold. So your speed of execution is really important, which means you have to be really good at your skill to be able to complete within those timelines. Otherwise, the shoot drags on with naps in between, with feed breaks in between, and so on, which can happen even now. And there are those odd days when newborns are just, they're colicky, or they're just, not in the zone. They've reached the next stage, which is where they've learned to stretch, and they don't want to be put into these cute poses. They fight back. So there is a tug of war that I prepare parents for, saying, okay, this pose, I think your baby is really going to fight back, but I'll make sure that they're comfortable if they get into it. So it's a lot of back and forth, but eventually, with a lot of perseverance, you get there. Yeah.
Nice. So in the last 10 years or 8 or 9 years that you've been working in this space, how has that changed you as a person?
That's a heavy question. It has changed my life dramatically. I was talking to you about my perspective on parenting and how, there's so much respect attached to it, but it also changed how I look at my parents and what they've done for me so selflessly, raising me and my 2 sisters. So that bond has definitely strengthened within my own family. My sisters are like my second and third mom, and because I'm the youngest. So, my bond with them has changed. I appreciate love a lot more. I appreciate relationships a lot more, because I was someone who was your typical hustle culture person, where I didn't have time for anything. I didn't have time for friends. And I gave up a lot in my personal life to focus on my work. And That has changed dramatically in the last few years, where I started to reprioritize things that matter and things that are important, and moments in time, moments now, versus saying, okay, I'll spend time with them later. Okay, I'm going back next month, so I'll spend time. Now I start to rejiggle my calendar just to be able to accommodate and get time in. Also, your parents are getting old, so you start to try to make the effort to spend more time, to give them more joy, because I think we've put them through enough as kids. So now it's about really having them enjoy their old age. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, it's definitely mellowed and slowed me down as a person. Having described my 20s to you, I was doing 100 different things, trying to really, like a carpe diem life that I lived. Like I had to seize every single day and do maximum in it. I've slowed down in that sense, because I've also, I think children have slowed me down. This sense of calm has, sort of it's something I've latched onto, and I move at a pace that's a little more easy for everyone around me, right? And I think it definitely has reduced stress. I come out of every shoot with endorphins running through my body, like I just finished a workout. And while some of those shoots are like workouts because you're running around the entire place with them, there's a sense of happiness and calm and joy that, you, no matter what mood you walk into when you enter a shoot, when you leave a shoot, you're a different person. So seeing that transformation at every shoot has made me respect children so much more. And till date, very humbly, I'll tell you that I feel like I'm so privileged, because it's such a personal journey that a family shares with you. They allow you into their homes. They give you their 5-day-old newborn in your arms, and they're like, yes, do your thing. And that doesn't come easy, right? Because for us, otherwise, if you're not a child photographer, the only time you get to meet a newborn is when your sibling has one or when you have one, and that's it. But I get to meet them time and again, day in and day out. And that's a privilege I'll never, ever forget.
I think you said so much in this, and you said about trust, you said about opening the world, you said about letting somebody just like a stranger in. I mean, there's so much that came in, and I'm so glad that you're doing this, because I work very closely on making the world inclusive, and I think this is really a great step. So thank you for sharing that. This podcast is about second act, and without defining what second act for people is, whatever comes to your mind as second act, I really want you to unfurl it and tell me, what is your second act?
I almost messed up my second act, and this is a story I don't really share very often, but it seems like the perfect space to share it. Is that when I had to make that decision to quit my corporate job, it was really hard for me because I'm a low risk person. I don't take a lot of risks. That's also attached to me not liking failing. I don't like to fail. So that shift took months of speaking to my tribe, months of speaking to my siblings and my family, and constantly rethinking that decision. And I finally took that leap of faith, and I did it. When I started Mommy Shots in June 2014, the first 6 months were amazing, Archana, where I had, crazy amount of demand, because people saw this as a very novel concept in India. And I was getting booked left, right, and center. And it was amazing, because I'm like, this is what I wanted. And it's working. It's, I don't have to go back to the corporate world. And I was on this high. I was studying, I was working hard, I was honing my skills, doing everything I could to be at my best performance every day, because I knew that would lead me to more work and more of this joy. 6 months into that lane, I suddenly got no callbacks, no emails, no inquiries, nothing, zilch. I suddenly had 2 months of emptiness staring back at me. And for someone who's packed their calendar morning to night for like the 28 years of her life, this was a big shock for me. And, I kept pushing in terms of marketing online, sharing information, putting up more work. Nothing happened. I was just in shock for some time. I used that time to borrow my friends' kids, create work that I want to create a portfolio that I've been wanting to do, but I'd never had the time to do. And in those 2 months, I also realized that maybe I made a mistake. I was doing extremely well in my corporate job. I was, looking at a bigger role, a bigger shift to another country. I was exploring amazing things there. And I left all of that for this. So when I had nothing here, I'm like, okay, big mistake, time to go back. That's a logical decision. There's security, there's, sense in going back. And I started interviewing again. I reached out to old colleagues, mentors, and I started the interview process, which took about 3 months. And I landed 2 really good offers, one with a VC firm, one with a networking platform online. I took up an offer at the same time, just about, say, 10, 15 days before I took up the offer and I started work. Inquiries started to pick up again. And suddenly my phone was ringing off the hook. And the work or the portfolio that I built in those 2 months of emptiness spoke for me. And the calls started to pour in. And I didn't expect that effect. But here I was holding an offer in hand, joining a really good job. I started working there, and I'm so embarrassed to share the story, right? Because it's so professionally unethical when I think about it, and it's not my character, but it happened. I joined the company. Day 3 or day 4, when I was working on some attrition report, I was so conflicted between answering all those calls and taking those shoots and doing this full time. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? I can't be such a mess. I'm a professional. I need to make a decision. And day 5, I put down my papers. I burnt a couple of bridges there with some important people in my life because, professional relationships do matter outside of work too. And I told myself that now I'm going to go back to mommy shots. I'm going to address all of these inquiries that are coming in. But no matter how much shit hits the fan, I am not going to give up on mommy shots. That's a promise I made to myself. But thankfully, from that March onwards, I've never had to look back and explore other opportunities because work has been good. And I've been giving it my best to make sure I don't come back to that situation. But this timeline in my life has been a huge lesson that I've learned, as well as a turning point for me to understand commitment and stick to it like a professional. Yeah. So that's really my second act. That's when it started.
No, so it's really nice that you share it as well, because I think more often than not, as entrepreneurs, and I'm talking about being in the corporate world for 26 years, starting something on my own, work takes its own time, money starts really pouring in quite late, if you're a solopreneur especially. And there are lots of times that you want to give up. You really give up, despite having the freedom to do what you do, despite loving what you do, despite finally getting the space to just, put your efforts in rather than being driven by a process or, by the policies, the company rules. But there is, again, something that pulls you back. And I think this lesson is for each one of us. And thank you for bringing this, that don't give up. Because if you really believe in something, put yourself out there every single day. It might not happen today, but it will happen. So thank you. I needed to hear this today as well. And I needed to hear this every single day since I started, because it's not easy. It's a difficult journey. It's really something that will, take you back, because of course we are so used to the perks and the luxuries and, the pampering, etc. But I'm sure that, this someday we will all pick up. And I think that's the day that we need a story like this. And with no embarrassment, thank you for sharing, I would say, because this is something that will help a lot of us today. Really.
I hope it does, because I do believe that we're going to face a lot of ups and downs. And you've got to embrace those downs and work through them. Yeah.
So thanks for that. Okay, so we have a rapid fire as well, in which I want to ask some nice, quirky questions, which can also make us know you a little bit more and about how you think, and some things that just might be for fun. So tell us that one fun moment in the photography world that you've experienced, which always comes to your mind when you think of a shoot.
2, actually. One, when I keep seeing kids poop in their parents' arms when I'm posing them. It's really funny. Brings a laugh to everyone around. And also it's quite the mess to clean up. But those poop lotions are funny. And the second is a really special moment was when I was documenting an 11-month-old who had learned to stand, but not take her first steps yet. And so I sort of made her stand in one corner, made the parents stand in the other corner. I'm here shooting them. And while I was shooting, the kid starts to take her first steps. And the parents are squealing in joy, like they're screaming in absolute excitement. Hearing them scream, the kid gets scared, falls, and starts crying all over again. That was really funny, but also heartwarming, because I got to capture that moment for them. as well as share their joy. It was really adorable to see how excited the parents were when she took her first steps because they were waiting for it. Yeah, those two, I'd list them out.
Actually, while my son was growing up, there was those handy cams, right? I mean, and it was so much of an effort to shoot something from a handy cam. While my daughter was still, after 3-4 years, maybe phones had come, but we were still not shooting that much, right? So today, when I look back, I have actually not many pictures of my both children, and I'm like, why we didn't do this? Why we didn't do this? But I'm
That's
so
my story. Third child. And I think my parents got bored of taking photos of the first two kids. But when I came, there were no pictures of me.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like in these random birthday parties, someone carrying me at the back. I'm like, that's my childhood portraits. Thank you. And ironically, this is what I do for a living.
Maybe that's your inspiration as well, not to miss out one single moment in somebody's life to click, which is great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what is that something that you do for your own self when there are no shoes, nothing else?
I love working out. Although I have been living the most unhealthy lifestyle, but I love working out. And one of the favorite things I've been indulging in lately is boxing. So yeah, that and dance. I think those are two things that I do to give myself joy.
Oh, great. So if there's one thing that Amrita wants to learn from the children that she's meeting today, and she wants to rewind her life and say, okay, I wish I was that, what is that?
Nothing, actually. I wouldn't want to go back and change anything. However, I have learned a lot from kids to be simple, to be honest, no filters. Feelings are feelings, you don't hide them. I express love very easily now, and I learned that from kids. And I hope everybody else does too. The world would be a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would still want to shoot and haven't?
There's plenty to be done in this space. I'm currently working on a very interesting campaign for World Earth Day in April, where I'm documenting a series of pregnant women against the damage that we've caused to this planet. So it's basically storytelling that, this is the kind of world we're bringing our kids into. So trying to create a message around that. But these sort of social messages are really why I think I'm here. If I didn't have a business to run and if I didn't have bills to pay, this is all I'd be doing. Social campaigns using photography, children and women in the space to express it.
Wow. Why is your focus more on women and children?
I think it's also because of the experiences I've had. And I think we as people are a sum of all of our experiences, which I have seen has been, it's been a patriarchal system, to so to say, all this while, and it still exists, in the professional world and otherwise. When I entered the photography space, purely male dominated, very few women in space. Today, it's a different, I think the scales are tipping, which is great. But I did face a lot of situations where gender played a role and I lost out. So that's why I think the bias is towards women and children, because they're the most beautiful form of human beings, so innocent, so pure. And, we change with time. So I want to document that innocence as much as I can while I can.
Very nice. Is there anybody who inspires you or motivates you, or any quotation, any book, anything that you want that really is your go-to?
While there are a lot of women out there who are very inspiring, I think the real inspiration came from my mom. She's a very creative person at heart and is someone I really admire because no matter what the situation, how dire it is, she's always got a smile on her face and she's finding solutions to get out of it. And that's essentially what she's made of me, which is to, really see the positive in life and what it has to offer. So I think my real inspiration comes from her. It's and I think understanding love came from her because she has a lot of love to give, and even a stranger at the doorstep is invited in and fed and shared. She shares love with them, and it's just who she is, and it's something I really appreciate and have learned from.
So nice. Okay, so one thing that you want people who are hearing us today or seeing us to go back with, Amrita's words.
I think the only message I'd really love to spread is kindness. I think we're in a world today where, our needs come first, and it's always prioritized. But I think the world is missing its quota of kindness that it deserves. And I hope it comes back. So if we can just go out there, express love, express kindness, and share, the world would be so much better for posterity, for all the children I'm documenting today. I actually think a lot about that. And yeah, I think my message would be love and kindness.
I don't know what it would make other people feel when they go through this podcast and they hear us, but some chord has touched inside me, and I don't know what it is. I can't put a finger to how this conversation has made me feel. I'm just proud of what you're doing. I'm just proud of touching so many lives, impacting them, and a beautiful second act that you do every single day. So thank you for actually making this podcast very special, and being you and your work and spreading joy and smiles and kindness and everything else that comes with Amrita. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Archana, for having me here. This was fun. Thank you.